Mark Dewar, Jordan Alexander, Ashton Young, and current NFL offensive lineman Ryan Hunter. So, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with Mitch and Mark, and we're going to go around. I just want your thoughts on the first half, just your overall thoughts on how the game's going, and then I'm going to get into some other things later on. So we'll start with Mark and Mitch. Go ahead.
I think overall the game is going pretty smooth. There's been a few iffy calls effectively for the Chiefs, but overall I think that it's expected. Brady looks pretty sharp. Mahomes doing what he does. The Buccaneers are running the ball really good. I think they need to. How many catches Kelsey got going in the ball in the second half?
Okay. Good. Mark?
Mitch had stated this earlier. To me, some of the Chiefs look like they're playing very uneasy. The pass rush hasn't gotten to Brady at all, really. The big plays aren't there. And it just seems like, like some of the calls, the PI calls are iffy on some of them. It's just, I think with those two offensive linemen out, it hurts. And, Ryan might know better, but, maybe they have to keep an extra guy in the block. And then when that happens, one of the skill players isn't allowed to be on the field, right? Because you go in max protect or whatnot. And I think it's kind of hurting their offense a little bit. So.
Okay, Ashton?
I got to give it up to Brady in the first half, but I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of that defensive hold on the interception that got turned back. That wasn't great, but the two drops were huge too. The two drops, the Kelsey drop and then the Hill drop right by the end zone. So, I mean, it's your own mistakes, right? You can't really blame officials, but those two drops are going to be big if it ends up being close.
Okay, Jordan?
I said a couple things in my fantasy football group before this game started, and I said that the tight ends would be the determining factor in this game. Whoever could utilize their tight end more efficiently would end up coming with and winning the game, I think. So far, Brady has utilized ground game a lot better than Kelsey's been utilized so far, but I think that's really where it's going to come down to. KC's got to stop taking bad penalties. Tyrann Mathieu took that penalty there right before they scored that touchdown. He's after these past five yards. You don't touch him after that. That's just a bad penalty. I don't know. Casey, we're in the same situation last year, right? Time they kind of woke up.
Which was supposed to be the code, but it might be like the new.
The Chiefs got to stop taking penalties. I do agree that some of the calls were a little ticky-tacky. The defensive hold was on the Matthew pick was kind of weak, and even the pass interference towards the end of the half there wasn't the greatest call ever either. The biggest problem I see is the Chiefs are having trouble blocking, and Ryan will be able to address that more than anybody else. It's just the Bucs are doing some different things. So I see they had Vita Vea on the edge a little bit a few times, coming hard, big man coming hard, giving some different looks. If anyone can come back from a 15-point deficit, it's the Chiefs in this offense. But they're going to have to make some adjustments.
Good. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it started off pretty slow like we expected it to. Most teams just kind of feeling out what the other one's trying to do. Some of the penalties on the Chiefs, obviously you got to avoid the undisciplined penalties, the one on Chris, and some of the PI or holding calls are questionable or not, but they're 50-50 calls. You can call them, you cannot call them, but you got to be able to put yourself in a position and not have the officials dictate the outcome of the game. Protection stuff, they're Wiley's trying to play right tackle against two very talented rushers, and I know him really well. He's one of my best friends. He's fully capable of blocking, and he's done a good job most of the game. It's just they've brought some exotic blitzes, like on the one pass play, they brought both corners on 2nd and 10, which probability of that happening is 0.1%. And so the Bucs are doing a good job of mixing up their game plan and their blitzes and their looks to kind of confuse Pat. And some of the plays where a blitz is coming, the receivers have to be able to look to the quarterback earlier for hot routes. Pat can only have so many blockers block so many defenders, and if you're rushing 6 and you only have 5 blockers, You got to be able to get the ball out quickly, and your offensive players have got to be able to adjust to that as well, not just the offensive line. But I think they need to be able to establish the run in the second half, which will set up play action pass, which will also slow down pass rushers. I mean, the Chiefs, like we know, will throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, and so they're able, as defenders, to just pin their ears back and just rush. And so if you can mix in some runs, some play action, it'll help slow down the defensive linemen, because as you can see, JPP, Shaq Barrett, I mean, Devin White, they're all flying around. They're all good, fast players, and so you got to be able to slow them down. And they're also double teaming Trav and Tyreek every single play. You can tell that was their game plan going in. They're saying those two players are not going to let us lose this game, and so their whole thing has been to stop them. And so now the other guys have to pick up if they're not able to do it because they're getting double teamed the whole time. I mean, if you have 4 defenders on 2 offensive players, someone else is going to be open. And so it's just a matter of holding up in protection and then finding those players.
So, Ryan, you obviously have been in the dressing room with the Chiefs, especially in situations like this. If you're Andy Reid and you're in that dressing room and you're in the locker room right now and you're looking at the score and, you guys came out kind of flat, it seems. What do you think Andy Reid is telling the Chiefs right now?
I think he's saying just be us. I mean, they know from history that they can come back from deficits. They can score 21 points in 2 minutes if they need to. All they need is, 1 or 2 explosive plays to get the ball rolling. And once this offense starts its momentum and starts connecting on all cylinders, it's essentially unstoppable regardless of how good your defense is. And so I think he's just telling them to stay calm, trust the game plan. They're going to make some adjustments on certain plays or protections or whatever it is to try to change or defeat what the Buccaneers are doing. But they're telling him, it's worked all season. Just believe in the game plan, believe in the calls that we're making. And as long as we run them and execute them correctly, they're going to succeed.
So, Ryan, one last thing I wanted to ask you. I've heard you say this the first time we interviewed you, and you just said it again before we were on air. Jim asked, is Andy Reid in there throwing garbage cans and giving a big rah-rah speech and things like that? And I loved your response because, before you get into it, we're all football coaches, and you often think football coaches have to yell and scream a lot. So, if you don't mind sharing what you said about Reid.
Yeah, in the 2.5 years that I knew him, he didn't yell once. He's someone that really doesn't have to yell. I mean, he's a person who's had so much success as a head coach in the NFL that just being in the room with him, he demands everyone's respect. And what he's saying works because it's worked for 21 years. And so the guys believe in him, the coaches believe in him, and he's going to call a great game like he always does. And as long as the players can execute what he calls, there's going to be success. And so I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs score here coming out of halftime, get a stop, and then if they can score again. I mean, you guys know how it went last year against San Francisco. Once they score a couple times in a row, they start feeling it. And once they feel good about how they're playing, they're hard to stop.
So that leads me to my next question. So we're going to go around again. This is a group question. I want one ballsy prediction for the second half, and I also want the final score. So we'll start with the first.
Yeah.
Mitch?
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll ballsy prediction. Okay. I see the Chiefs running 2 gadget plays and one of them leading to a touchdown to try and steal the momentum away from Kansas City.
Love it.
From the Bucs, I'm sorry.
Yep. Mitch?
If the Chiefs are still struggling on offense, I could see them faking a punt or going for it on a 4th down, something like that.
And final score. Who's winning the game, boys?
I think the Chiefs are going to come back and win a close one by 2 points.
Oh, I did see something like that.
Perfect. Jordan, ballsy prediction and final score.
Ballsy prediction. Leonard Fournette breaks one off for a touchdown run. The running game for Tampa has been pretty well so far today, and I think they can maybe even spring one off. I'm going to say Tampa wins this. Always bet on Brady. Maybe a little closer. Let's go 35-20.
All right, Ashton. Ballsy prediction and the score.
Tampa Bay gets shut out in the second half. Kansas City wins 34-21.
Oh, I love it. All right, Jim.
I say Gronk gets a third touchdown, and then the Chiefs make a little bit of run here, and but they don't quite have enough to get it done. I'll say 31. Let me do some math here. 31, 24, 26, something like that.
All right, Ryan.
3 second half turnovers by the Chiefs D will spark a comeback. Chiefs 35, Bucks 30.
Love it. So my ballsy prediction is Patrick Mahomes is going to go for a 30 or 40-yard touchdown run to give the Chiefs the victory by 2 points in the late in the fourth quarter. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think that, he's been playing pretty well with that toe and moving pretty well. The longest in the game so far has been 13 yards. So, I do think that you're going to see a little bit of that. So that's great, boys. Thank I got a little bit of the weekend here if we have to, but enjoy the halftime, and we'll see you guys after the game just for some final thoughts.
Bono, how's your props going so far? I want to congratulate Jim Monico for getting his nice little prop in on the Gronk first touchdown of the game. It's a nice little score.
I did okay, actually. So, I hit the Chiefs to score to kick a field goal on the fourth drive too. I didn't play bet it.
There you go. I'm getting wrecked currently.
Yeah.
So I started the game. I started the game that they would the two national anthem singers would start singing together. Lost. I bet under 2 minutes second. Lost. I bet on the Buccaneers to win this. Lost, and I bet tails on the coin toss and lost. So I started 0 for 4. So I'm done.
My favorite bet was the second half to be the highest scoring half. So I kind of like that still. So
I wanted to see.
Same here. You took it. I like it.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, boys.
Did anyone bet on the weekend props, like what his first song was going to be?
I don't know any of his songs,
No.
so I wouldn't be able to do that.
Oh, fair enough. I think I had a buddy just hit this one.
Starboy is the first song.
I took the one that he has a bandage on his face at one point.
Yeah, Starboy is the first song. That's what Dylan's telling me.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
We're coming back on after.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys after the game. For anyone that wants to tune in, that'd be great. And look forward to seeing you guys then.
Okay,
all right, boys.
guys.
See you guys a little bit.
Welcome, sports, the post-game show for the Super Bowl here. Tony Boniferro joined alongside, again, Jim Monico, Jordan Alexander, and Ryan Hunter. Guys, just your overall thoughts on the game. Obviously, I don't think anyone saw a blowout by Tampa Bay. So, Jordan, we'll start with you. Just overall, what were your thoughts on the game? And was it what you expected? I will give you props. Your one ballsy call did come through. You took Fournette to have the long touchdown run, so well done.
Like I said before the game, I did say bet on Brady. I didn't see that score, that's for sure. I'm just gonna stick to the old adage, I guess. Defense wins championships. Levante David, when he was covering Travis Kelce one-on-one there, a few times that kind of stick out. He was on him like a fly on stick. It was their defense played outstanding tonight in Tampa Bay, and it was something else. It was fun to watch.
Jim? Yeah, Jim, go ahead. Am I freezing again?
No, Jim can't hear us, so go ahead and ask Ryan.
Oh, okay, Ryan, go ahead. Yeah, your thoughts.
I can't hear you guys.
Yeah, I can hear you.
You can hear me?
I think the Bucks played the perfect game. They controlled the ball. They were able to convert on third downs, kill the clock.
defensively, they did what they needed to do. They pressured Mahomes. They got in his face. They didn't let him get comfortable. And I think if he calls at the beginning and the Chiefs really not being able to get in a groove, kind of halted their momentum that they thought they could build. And I mean, hats off to the Bucs for playing an incredible game and Coach Arians for doing a great game plan. They basically played it how they needed to, and the score showed it.
One of the cool things that I thought, I was really impressed by the professionalism of Mahomes and especially Hill. I mean, you look at Tyreek Hill, the reason he slipped so far down on the draft board was because of character concerns, obviously. And you look at Tyreek Hill when he's playing out there, he seems like he gets a little intense, and obviously he takes it pretty serious. But for the most part, he plays the game the right way. I like the way he plays. Ryan, can you talk a little bit about Tyreek Hill? Did you see much of that in Kansas City, or are those character concerns a real thing of the past in your opinion?
Yeah, I think whatever happened with him in college is long gone. I got to see him in the locker room, and we also have the same trainer here in Kansas City during the offseason, so I got to train with him a little bit as well. And, I mean, he's one of the best guys in that locker room. He's a leader. He's a great guy. He used to bring his son all the time to the locker room and play basketball and shoot hoops and run around and have a good time. I mean, he loves his son so much, and he has so much fun with him. And you can tell that he's a great person, and, whatever might have happened, he's grown from it, and he's learned, and he's become, a great person and a great teammate. And so awesome. I'm happy for him to succeed and play well and, get paid like he has. But, I don't think this is the last we'll see of the Chiefs, and I think we all agree with that. So I think there's multiple more years of them competing for Super Bowls. So we'll see how things go in the future. But, every offseason is different. Every team has to re-sign players, has to choose who they want to let go, who they want to keep.
Yep.
And the Chiefs, just like any other team, have to make those decisions. And we'll see, who they want to keep as their core group with Pat leading the show. So it'll be interesting to see how this offseason goes. But obviously the season just ended 4 minutes ago, so a little bit of time before that starts up.
Absolutely. Can you we have some requests to show the ring off. Can you just show the ring off and kind of explain it like you did earlier? That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll do my best to put it in focus. So there's the front of it. I think there's 54 rubies or 53, I can't remember. There's 212 or 213 diamonds. So the front of it obviously has the KC arrowhead with the 2 Super Bowls, indicating the 2 Super Bowls the Chiefs have won. On the one side, it says Super Bowl LIV with the score. And then on the other side, it has your name and then your number embedded in diamonds. And then on the inside, I'll see if I can show it. It's got the 3 playoff games that we played and the score of each one of them. On the inside of the bottom of the ring, you can kind of see here is everyone's individualized initials. And on the bottom, the initials LH for Lamar Hunt, Clark Hunt's father, who wasn't able to see us win a championship ring, but whose AFC championship is named after, who is essentially credited with creating the NFL, someone who started the American Football League. And the NFL saw as a rival competition, and they said, let's merge, which now became the AFC and the NFC. So it's pretty cool to be part of an organization that has won a championship that has so much history involved with the building of the NFL. So, it's pretty cool. I don't really, like I told you guys, I don't wear it that often, but obviously it's, a piece of history I'll have with me forever. So it's pretty cool to have.
That's amazing. That's, I can't believe it. It's just it looks beautiful. I mean, I can't imagine.
It's insane. I don't know. I couldn't even. If you told me to design a Super Bowl ring, I would have done a much worse job than whoever was in charge of doing this. I mean, to me, a Super Bowl ring is, it's more than just the flash. It's all the years of hard work and dedication that everyone put into it. So,
was there a ceremony? Was there a ceremony for you guys? Were you able to have one, or did they basically just mail it to you and say, "Here you go"?
No, we did. So obviously, usually you have it at some point during the off season before the next season begins. But because basically 2 or 3 weeks after the Super Bowl, COVID started, it got pushed back to at the end of training camp. So we had a 3-day window at the end of training camp before the team was made, where we were able to have a ceremony. at Arrowhead, and we were each given it by Mr. Hunt. And so it was cool to be able to kind of have that moment together because we really weren't sure if we were ever going to have it because the world was basically on hold for a couple months.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Jim,
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you
Can
now.
you hear me
Jim.
or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was the ring's awesome. Tom Brady has 7 of those. It's kind of crazy, eh? When you think about it.
Yeah. It's insane. I mean, the fact that I have one. When you think of all the players who have played for so long and who don't have one, and then I have one, like it doesn't seem right. But I'm not going to.
You did a lot of work to get that, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Shout out.
No, that was a surprising game to me. I kind of picked Tampa, but I don't think anyone in the world thought that Kansas City was going to score 9 points. I mean, that's unthinkable, right? So, the defense was impressive, and
a couple years ago too.
The O line, the absences on the O line, I think, was a big difference. Wouldn't you think so?
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was one of my big points. Like the whole week leading up to it was, if they're able to slow down the pass rush, then they'll have a chance. Because as long as Pat has time, he can find plays. But you saw from the get-go that he was running around the whole time. I mean, when you lose 1 or 2 guys, usually you can fill in those spots and it's not too noticeable. But when you have to shuffle basically your entire starting offensive line and have a guy who can play tackle in Wiley and has done it. He played pretty well when he needed to against New Orleans and stuff like that. But when you're playing in, essentially the biggest game of your career at a position when you're playing against a veteran in Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett, who's been playing incredible the last year or two, it's tough because you're not used to playing it. I mean, offensive line, we can play multiple positions, but, once you're used to playing one position and then you're forced to change positions, your mental state, the way you approach every block is not even the same at tackle and a guard. And so I give a lot of credit to those guys for fighting. Obviously, they were working their ass off trying to make the blocks, but in the end, the Bucs just played better.
I mean, that front seven's awesome, right? I mean, their linebacker play. Devin White chased down Clyde Edwards-Helaire that one time. It looked like he was chasing down me. He made him look slow.
That's probably one of the best linebacker duos in the NFL up there with I think the Vikings duo. I mean, they're incredibly fast, they're athletic, they read plays well, and they can make plays.
I think the NFL deserves a lot of credit too, guys. I mean, we haven't talked much about this, but before the season, I know we all talked at different times, and we all had real serious doubts whether the season would get through, especially with COVID. I know there was a little bit of delay on a couple games and things like that, but the fact that the NFL actually made it to today without missing a game, I think is a remarkable feat. Ryan, can you just talk a little bit about what the COVID protocols were that you experienced every day and what they were like?
Yeah, so when you started every day coming to the facility, before you could go into the facility, you had to complete like a basic questionnaire, like, are you experiencing any symptoms? Do you have a fever? You had to get your temperature taken, and then you get a test. You'd get a test every day before you came to the facility. And then those tests would get sent out to whatever lab they were tested at, so you would get your results 24 hours later. But once you're in the facility, when the season started, everything was in person, but everyone had to wear masks, and like all desks were separated by like at least 6 feet. Everyone had to wear a tracer, which essentially bounced off all the other tracers. If you were more than 6 feet apart from everybody, the tracers would just stay like normal. They would like essentially just have a constant green light. But if you came within 6 feet of a person, they would start flashing red. And so so the reason they do that is if someone tests positive for COVID, they can go back to these tracers and see who was close to that person. And so if you test positive, you'd have to essentially quarantine for the 14 days that was required by the CDC. But the big problem with people who test positive was the close contact rules that the NFL put into place. So essentially what close contact meant for the NFL was that you were within 6 feet of a person for 15 minutes or more consecutively. And if that happens, you're deemed as close contact, then you have to sit out for a minimum of 5 days.
Yeah.
So if someone, say, tests positive on Thursday, but you have 12 other guys who are in close contact with him, those 12 players are now ineligible to play on Sunday because they have to sit out for 5 days. So that was like when Baltimore and like Pittsburgh and Tennessee had all those outbreaks, it wasn't necessarily that everyone was testing positive. It's that your close contact tracers were coming back as, 10, 15, 20 guys were. Because if one offensive lineman gets it, odds are there's at least 3 to 5, if not more, who also were in close contact. And so now you're playing the game of, okay, well, we have to sit out just because those are the rules. And as the season progressed, the protocols got more and more severe because the cases started going up and up because people started essentially living lives normally. And so I would say probably for the last 6 to 8 weeks of the season, all meetings were then converted to virtual meetings. So essentially the only times you were ever allowed in the facility were to lift or practice. You were never in the facility besides for those reasons. And so you would say you lived 30 minutes away from the facility, you would just stay at home for meetings all morning, and then before you came in for practice you would get tested. If you lived I lived 5 minutes from the facility, so I would go in early in the morning to lift, I'd test, and then I'd have to go back home for meetings and then go back to the facility for practice. And so as the season progressed, they just essentially added more restrictions because the cases were going up all around the country.
Yeah.
And I think the Super Bowl is a big indicative factor of that. Chiefs didn't leave till yesterday for today's game.
Yeah.
Whereas last year when we went, we were there for a whole week. I mean, you guys know the media week leading up to it is crazy. So they had to do all their media stuff virtually. They left the day before. And even the wives and girlfriends and family members who were on the charter flight from the Chiefs, they left this morning, as opposed to last year they got there maybe 3 days before the game. So they were trying to reduce the amount of new interactions with players and coaches and stuff. So they essentially treated it like a normal away game, left the day before, and then they'll probably head back tomorrow to Kansas City.
Yep, makes sense. Mitch and Mark, any last questions for Ryan? Any thoughts on the game that you want to share? I know you guys came in a little bit late, but just your overall reaction.
Ryan, where on the line do you play?
So I play essentially all 5 positions. I practice at all 5, but as far as preseason reps and whenever I'm in training camp, I'll usually play both guards and center. I rotate throughout all 3 interior positions. But towards the end of the season, we had a couple injuries and stuff to some tackles, and so I played tackle for practice. But most of the time, just guard and center.
Nice.
Just want to thank you, Ryan, for taking the time out to spend with us. Really appreciate it. We appreciate Jay and Jim and Bono having us on. It was great to come on here, and that it just it looked like Tampa Bay came to play, and the Chiefs somewhat were overwhelmed, and you lose 2 of your offensive tackles, it's gonna hurt you, right? Especially against that defense, it's hard to come back from too.
Jordan, any last thoughts? Any last questions?
We were talking about the ring there earlier, and it got me thinking about another Canadian on the Chiefs roster, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. Have you been in contact with him since all this has happened, or?
Yeah, I've talked to him a little bit. Him and I have the same agent, so we're pretty we know each other pretty really well. And then my rookie year, when I first signed with the practice squad, I actually lived with him for the first 3 weeks of the season before I found my apartment because I didn't have anywhere to stay. So him and I got to know each other really well just because we were both French Canadian, and also having the same agent. So he asked me how I was doing and stuff when I first got cut and didn't have a job. And then when I signed with the Chargers, he congratulated me. And same with him, I was asking how he was doing and with everything. Obviously, he chose to opt out and fight COVID with his medical degree. So he said he's doing well. Obviously, things are still pretty intense right now, but he's having a good time enjoying what he's doing. And he loves to play football, but medicine is his passion. And so for him to be able to do what he loves to do, I think he's enjoying himself as much as it's it's tough to see and tough to be a part of, but he's using his degree to good use.
Awesome. Jim?
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, there's a Canadian on the Bucks too, right? Eau Claire.
He also right. So we all 3 have the same agent. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was dressed today, right? Was he? I didn't notice him, but was he dressed today? Do you know?
He was dressed. Yeah, I think he played mostly special teams.
Yeah.
He played some tight end throughout the season, but yeah, I mean, I think the Bucs essentially went with their 9 to 11 guys
and all that.
Yeah.
For me. I mean, because my best friend, like one of my good friends, Scotty Miller, he really didn't get very many touches while in the season. You know, he had a lot of big explosive plays. The Bucs were up for so long that they went with, you know, their bigger blocking tight ends and would throw a, you know, mid-range pass here and there. But yeah, no, it's a good couple years for our agent for back-to-back Super Bowl.
Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome.
Clients.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I was like Mark said, thanks a lot for coming on, Ryan. It was awesome to talk to you. You're a great guest, and it was really fun to talk to you. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys having me.
Scotty Miller. I had no idea that he was a buddy of yours. I took him on a bunch of props tonight, but unfortunately, to your point, they didn't use him as much as I had hoped.
One of my other teammates from Bowling Green, he'd sent me a picture. He put a bunch of bets on Scotty for getting like receptions and yards, and didn't get too many come true. But obviously, I'm super happy for him to be able to win a Super Bowl. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Ryan,
absolutely.
Scotty being one of your good friends, what did you think about his comment saying that he was a fastest player in the NFL?
I mean, I'm not surprised he said it. You know, if you say you're not, then it's kind of like weird to like not hype yourself up.
Yeah.
Scotty is legit fast. I mean, you don't expect it, but you can hear. I mean, you hear it from a bunch of DBs, whether it's in college or in the pros. You know, once he starts running, you can tell how legit his speed is. You know, I would say Tyreek's maybe quicker.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell because they run so differently. Scotty's got like a legitimate sprinter stride, whereas Tyreek is so quick with his arms and his legs. It looks like he's going 100 miles an hour when he's really going 90, but like he's still flying, but it looks like he's going so fast because he's so small. But it would be interesting to see how they would race. I think it would be a lot closer than people think.
Yeah.
I think I might give the slight edge to Tyreek just because I've seen them both. But Scotty is now a lot stronger and a lot more muscular than he was in college. Like in college, he was like a $165 soaking wet.
Oh wow!
So now he's had a couple years in the NFL to lift and run and train with the best. And so, I wouldn't put it past him if he beat Tyreek, but I think it would be a pretty good race.
Awesome. Mitchell, I got a question for you. Who do you think would win a race? Scotty Miller, Tyreek Hill, or your father when his back wasn't sore?
Your father.
I think your father too. So
Appreciate that, Jim.
Jim, if you're in there, then I'd have to go with you though.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hopefully, we'll play together for the Matt Wheaton tournament.
Yeah. That would be fantastic. Mark's going to put a team in for the Matt Wheaton tournament, Bono.
Yeah, that's perfect. I know we talked.
I don't know
about
if you're
that.
signed yet or not. I don't know if you got to go to tryouts. I'm signed already.
I'll play on Dewar's team. We'll give a quick little promo. So the Matt Wheaton Touch Football tournament is going to be coming up, I believe, in June was when it's scheduled for. So the forms are going to be out. Matt Wheaton was a local high school football player who passed away due to a motor vehicle accident earlier this year. So Matt was a really well-known guy in the community, and the Wheaton family is really well-known here in Sault Ste. Marie. So please, if you're interested in supporting that, we will have the form up on Sioux Sports, and feel free to register. We could use as many teams as possible. Ryan, you've always been great to us. This is the second time you've come on. Honestly, I could talk to you all day. I really appreciate this. And again, you're a great co-host, and we love having you. And when you make the Chargers next year, please don't forget about us little guys when you're starting with for Justin Ebert back there.
I'll try not to. It's hard to come home when the border keeps getting shut down, and
I know.
You know, Trudeau puts 14-day hotel requirements when you want to come back home, and so if I can come home and not have to stay in a hotel for 2 weeks, I'll definitely come back. But it's been. I haven't been home in almost 2 years. I was going to go last off season, but we were told if you show up to camp with COVID, your probability of making the team is not very good. And so I essentially just, to this day, since I've came back from Mexico at the early March, I've gone out to the restaurant once or twice. I don't go out. I wear my mask. I go to the gym. I come home, go to the grocery store, and that's about it. I mean, I'm a pretty big introvert. And so as long as I have my internet and my air conditioning, I'm a happy guy.
Perfect. Great combo. And also just a shout out to Mike Prentice, who's watching all the way over in Sweden. So Prentice, Mike, nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in, and glad to see you're doing well over there. So again, guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate you tuning in. We have a show tomorrow night Jim, myself, and Jay, we're going to be hosting a few high school athletes from Sault Ste. Marie, as well as Dave Zagordo, to talk a little bit about COVID and the impact that COVID has had on high school students and high school kids here in Sault Ste. Marie. So tune in tomorrow night at 8 o'clock for that. Ryan, again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We really appreciate it, man. And you're always great to us. So we look forward to seeing you again, and we're always cheering for you. You got a huge cheering section up here in the Sioux rooting for you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Always nice to be on the show and always good to talk to you guys.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. Have a good night, eh?
Nice to meet you guys. Good to see you again.
Take care. Yeah, thanks.
Good night. Thank you.
That ring is wild.
Yeah.